Yep, it's that time again. Welcome to another video in my Seeing What Still Works After Being Left in a Shed for 2 Years video. Today we'll be taking a look at 4 laptops, 2 of which don't actually function, but we can talk about them, and 2 of which that do at least turn on and boot. We'll be seeing if those have survived beyond their original problems, and have some fun and learn some stuff about them along the way. 3 of these computers came from a e-waste pile, whereas the third one on the top I actually bought off eBay a long time ago. So, without further ado, let's put these aside, and I'll come back with the first machine. This is the first machine we'll be taking a look at. Now, this is, I'd say it's quite rare. It's not in the greatest of shape, as obviously it's very old and it's been left to the elements. I feel quite sad about this, actually. This is a Chicony NB7D laptop. It is, I don't actually know what it is, really. It's really just an ODM laptop, branded by Chicony. There was a Canon machine, I think a Canon Innova, that was released when this came out. It comes with a battery. Here is the battery. It's nickel metal hydride, so that's great. I think the last time I actually tried this out, it actually held a charge, which I think is absolutely insane. So that's our battery. It doesn't have a hard drive. The hard drive lives here. It takes a standard 2.5-inch, slightly bigger IDE hard drive. Now, if we open it up, you can see inside it's quite bare bones. But with this machine, it's a Cyrix-based laptop, as a matter of fact. It doesn't work, unfortunately, but I knew that when I was actually getting the machine. But I think we can at least attempt to do something with it. I can see if I can find the power lead here and plug it in and see if it, blows up for entertainment value, I guess. And then you get to see me cry. I do quite like this, for a few reasons. One is that lovely little LCD screen. Reminds me of those old NECs and Toshibas and Compaqs of the time, where they had that little LCD panel built into it. My Siemens has that, and as does my Omnibook, wherever that is. Yeah, so without further ado, let's attempt to power this on. I don't think this does anything else more than it used to. I think the screen lit up for like a couple seconds once. Does it? I don't know. No. Okay, so the screen doesn't flash anymore. It used to. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what's wrong with this thing. It doesn't really boot anymore. Well, actually, no, it never did. So maybe one day we'll get it working again. It's a very unique machine. I've never had a Cyrix machine before, and certainly have never had a 486 laptop before. If I ever do get this working again, I do plan to turn this into a OS2 machine, because it kind of does look a little bit like a ThinkPad. It's got the little nub mouse in the middle, so it can definitely do GUI. Hasn't got a Windows key, so I wouldn't torture it with Windows. I love the keyboard on this thing. It's a really, really nice keyboard. The screen, it's quite clear. I believe it is a passive matrix LCD. Or it might be an active matrix. There's no contrast wheel anywhere I can see. It is very, very unique, and amazingly enough, the battery, like I said before, did hold a charge. Obviously, it's not now, but that's probably because it's been left in the shed for 2 years. Again, nothing really to say about this. It never worked to begin with, and I don't expect it to work now. So I'm going to just carefully close the lid on this. She's seen some action over the days. This plastic's cracked. That's plastic's cracked. It's filthy. It's got, obviously, dust and dirt and grime on it. But I'll make sure to wash it and give it the love it deserves. Alright, this is the next machine on the bench. This is an IBM ThinkPad A21M. I'm quite fond of this. This machine actually was the first or second e-waste rescue from that place, alongside one of the machines you'll see in a bit. It was in a very large, unmanaged pile of garbage, and I basically just went through, tidied up the back room, and I found this in my hunts. It wasn't really in this shape earlier, it was missing a few bits, but thanks to my persistence and perseverance, I successfully tracked down a hard disk, caddy, and a battery for it. Unfortunately, I never found this little memory cover, and another problem, as you may have noticed here, is one of the memory slots is damaged. But we do have one stick of RAM in here, which I don't actually think is supposed to be in here. So that's unusual. Yeah, it's very, very unusual. It does have memory in it, which I don't remember putting in there. Here are the ports. You've got a floppy disk drive, you've got headphone, line-in, microphone, and infrared. On the front you've got twin latches, just like the original IBM ThinkPads used to have. On the side of this one, amazing, you get a DVD-ROM drive, which I think is pretty slick. You've got a blanking port for a composite port and S-video, and the PCM CAA slot. And this is, of course, a hot swappable DVD-ROM module, which you can take out and put back in as you please. And on the back, we have a selection of ports. We have a parallel printer port, a Kensington lock, a modem port, your Ethernet for your onboard NIC, the exhaust port for the cooling system, which I believe is for a Pentium 3 processor. Not too sure, it could be a Celeron. If it focuses, we've got a serial, a VGA, a single USB 1.1 port, a PS2 port, and your 16-volt power jack. Now, a little backstory about this. It's got a little bit of mould on the lid, nothing too concerning. It's basically plastic, it'll wipe right off. Now, the reason this doesn't work, it's a IBM ThinkPad, as we know, and unfortunately these do suffer a problem. It's called the blink of death. Now, most people in the vintage laptop space already know this type of issue. Now, inside this laptop there is a microchip called the ADM1221, I believe, by Advanced Power Devices. It's not great. These were built incorrectly in the factory. As a result, the chip gets more power than it's rated for, and with every single boot up and every single run of the laptop, it gets fried. Little by little, tiny bit by bit by bit. And eventually, the chip dies, and the machine stops powering on properly. Now, with some machines, mostly Sony and HP machines, they just refuse to turn on at all, or they turn on slightly, but they don't fully boot. These, because it's a ThinkPad and there's a huge community around them, develop a problem called the blink of death. Now, what is the blink of death exactly? The blink of death is when the hard disk access light blinks once and nothing happens. Now, mine doesn't do that. Mine's a partial blink of death because mine is not as dead as it is yet. And if I force it, I can get it to power on maybe once or twice, which is probably not good for the machine. But we're going to attempt to do that. So I'm going to go find a 16-volt charger for this ThinkPad because it doesn't take the Lenovo 20-volt brick that it had been replaced with. So give me 2 seconds and I'll be right back. Okay, sadly I have been unable to locate either of my IBM ThinkPad chargers, so I have to use the universal charger. It is set to 16 volts, and the only problem with that is it has no overcurrent protection. I don't think there's an actual short in this laptop, but should something go wrong, it is most likely going to blow something up. So please don't go bang. Alright, I've plugged in the power, nothing has gone massively bang, and I do get a orange light. Which is kind of normal. Now, this probably won't do anything, but I will give you a demonstration of what the blink of death is like. Here's the power button, pressing in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's basically it. It powers on and shuts off immediately. Or, in some cases, doesn't even get that far, just blinks the hard drive light and does nothing. Sometimes you just really got to fiddle with it, and then it will come up. But you can see the battery light does come off and reset, so it is actually resetting the power system of the whole laptop when it goes down. But yeah, it will not power on. I will have to take this apart and do some deep diving on the main board. Not only will I be replacing the chip with a more reliable, better engineered version, I will also be fitting a little fix in the form of a 2K resistor, which takes the load off the chip that overloads it in the first place. I'll also be replacing the other chips around it because I heard that they get damaged also. Give it a couple more times. Oh, there we go. Stayed on a bit longer this time. But again, just the more you try and power it on, it just refuses to turn on. Oh, there we go. It just flashes the hard drive LED and does nothing at all. So yeah, this poor thing is dead. It will only power on if there's no memory in it. But at this point, I am not going to test this any further. I don't want to damage the motherboard. So that is the IBM A21M. You'll probably see it in the future once I get it fixed again. I do like this machine. It's very thick, very chunky, decent amount of weight. Has it survived being in the shed for 2 years? Well, it hasn't changed. It's been in the same state it is, other than perhaps growing some weird stuff on the lid. But I will take that and I will clean it and I will make sure that it, gets some sort of respect this time, rather than me leaving it to die. So, without further ado, I will switch over to the next machine in the list that actually sort of works. Right, so the laptop you are looking at currently is an Ergo, E-R-G-O, Ergo, Preceptor 5. Now, this was the second, or maybe the first laptop I ever saved from my old job. I really like this thing. It's a British education grade laptop, so it's like the cheaps Viglens and Stones that we've looked at previously. Yeah, really like this, but there is one slight problem. The keyboard doesn't work at all. Now, I thought this was just a fault with the keyboard, it not being plugged in, the keyboard being dead, whatever. But I've plugged it in a USB keyboard, and while the USB keyboard does work, it's weird. The shift key acts as if it's stuck constantly, so there appears to be some sort of circuit level issue in this laptop, in which case it just does not work. So that's why I have this Dell keyboard. It's a modern-ish Dell keyboard, but it's plugged into the power. It's plugged into USB. So without further ado, let's plug in the electrical power and hope to God this doesn't explode. It shouldn't though, because this charger does actually have overcurrent protection. Where the hell's the power jack on the back of this? Oh, here it is. Found it. Okay, the power is in. There is an orange light, so it's not totally dead. Please don't go bang. Oh, it's got a hard drive in it. There we go. There we go. Technology at your fingertips. Hard drive is churning away. Now, I can't remember what I was doing with it last. You can obviously see a slightly better picture than I can. The screen is ridiculously dim. But yeah, that'll be the last time you see this beautiful Ergo keyboard, because I'm covering it up now with the Dell one. Yes, so the Ergo Preceptor 5, it's a education laptop, so it's a very low-end spec of hardware. It's not the greatest, but like I said, these are usually bought in big fleets for IT suites and teachers to use, stuff like that. Not exactly sure where this one came from, probably a school. A long time ago, I did manage to save all of the bits to it. I thought I'd lost the hard drive caddy, but I did find it. I also found the little trim piece that went above the keyboard. Yeah, and this is pretty much complete. It's not actually missing any covers or doors or anything like that, unlike a lot of these machines, sadly. Another thing is, I believe this actually crashes when you first power it on after a cold start, so I may actually have to force this off and back on again. It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, I'll come back once I've figured this thing out. Evidently I left it a bit too long. It did eventually come to its senses and boot up. It, yeah, is exactly at the same position I last left it in. And, yeah. It's not good. But yes, the keys, for some reason, they're stuck in the shift position, something like that. And I can't actually use this computer. This is with an external keyboard, the shift key being stuck. Also, I believe the stuck shift is possibly also causing the machine to hang on startup for an abnormally long time before it eventually gets the hint and boots. But the keyboard in the laptop itself doesn't actually work. I mean, for example, you can see it says press F2. I can press F2 on the laptop keyboard, but it won't do anything. It's only as soon as I hit the key on the keyboard, okay, maybe not even then, it will start up. So, has it survived being stuck in the shed? I don't know. It's just, it's been the same that it always has been. No major change. I don't actually know what's even causing this problem. If anyone actually knows, please do say in the comments down below, because I would be curious as to find out what is actually causing it. I think it could be potentially a keyboard controller issue, because it does the same with the keyboard disconnected, the internal one. But yeah, nothing really happens with this. It's kind of stuck. And I'm bored of having this thing on. And the power button also doesn't seem to work. Unless powering on. Powering off you can't do. But powering on you can. It's very weird. But yeah, that's the Ergo Preceptor 5. Yeah, it's basically the same as it always has been, just slightly grimier, due to being stuck in a shed half its life. I mean, yeah, you can it's really bad on this side. Yeah, look at that. It's not looking good, so I'll move on to the next machine, the next and final machine of this video, and we'll go from there. This is a Toshiba Satellite A30 in beautiful blue. Yeah, it's... The poor thing hasn't had the best of lives. It's got a spider living inside it. Yeah, this thing's had its keyboard stolen. The little clutch panel at the top's gone. Possibly stolen, but I bet it's been thrown away. Yeah, she's beaten up, but she has a drive in it. I managed to salvage the optical drive and the battery. It's a Pentium 4 laptop, so it's quite hefty, and probably pumps out quite a bit of heat. That's the underside. You've got 2 fans, that's your battery, that's your optical drive. Hard drive sits underneath. I believe I tried to put 2 gigs in this machine. There goes the spider running away. Takes wireless as well. I can put a wireless card in here if I had one, but I don't at the moment. I tried putting one in there, but the card didn't work. I've also got other things with this. For example, it's got a blanking slot for another USB port. It's got iLink 1394. It also have a single PCMCIA slot, which the eject mechanism appears to be broken on, so that probably doesn't work anymore. There's your IR slot. On the back of this machine, you have got Ethernet. You've got your modem, 2 USB ports, very, what's the word? Generous. You've got your VGA port, your S-Video port, and your power jack, as well as, again, an enormous ventilation port, because this, I believe, houses a Socket 478 desktop processor. So, without further ado, let's plug this in. The charger just about meets the requirements for the laptop to run. If I could find out precisely where I'd attach the DC port, that would help. There we go. So the lights still come on, and the real question is, do it power on? Where's the power button? Oh, yeah, I forgot. The plastic panel also hides the power button, and there's obviously a little plastic rod. Isn't there? Oh, wow, that is really dim. That is really dark. It does power on though. You can't see it. I can. Lighting in this room is not particularly the greatest. The screen brightness is super dim. I can't change it because there's no keyboard. We're just going to hit F1 to continue. And see how far we get. I'm not too sure if I ever did anything beyond just installing Windows. Maybe I didn't. Did I put drivers on here? No, I don't think I did. But no, it's got driver booster on there. Yeah, it's got sound. The video drivers are installed. It's even got networking by the looks of things. So yeah, this one also kind of works. It's the only one that works, despite the fact it's battle scarred. But this thing is an absolute tank, and the drive works. Poor thing hasn't died. Drive's churning away trying to figure things out. So let's get the specs of this thing once it's sorted its life out. Yeah, it's very slow, which I don't think it was originally, but then again, it has spent a while. I see. Hard drive turned off for a second there. Okay, so the mouse buttons don't work. That's interesting. Yeah, there's not really a lot I can get for that. Oh, okay, I ended up ejecting the optical drive doing that. Yeah, the mouse buttons don't click anymore. They don't feel right either. They feel like something's pressing up against them, which could be the battery, but the battery's nowhere near the trackpad. The battery's here, but nowhere near these buttons. Yeah, okay, so those did work before and now they don't. The optical drive does actually work now. Yeah, okay, so it ejects every 80th attempt and also refuses to stay closed. Yeah, this thing I think is pretty much just as broken as it once was. But Windows still works, the drive hasn't died, and it still turns on, so it's good. I'd get you the specs, but obviously now the mouse buttons don't work anymore. Yeah. There goes the cooling system, very noisy. Yeah. So I will probably have to take a look at this again at some stage in the future. But I guess for now, it's working about as good as it can, which realistically is all I can ask for a machine that's been left outside for so long. But yeah. Sound also seems to fade in. It doesn't seem to be always on the ball. The sound will seem to come on and go off, so that looks like it's also a problem that I will have to address. But yeah, that is the Toshiba Satellite A30, among other machines. If you like the video, make sure to click like, give us a subscribe for more content, a little bit like this, a little bit different in the future. I've got a lot of stuff to go through, as you can tell. But yeah, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.